Okay, so I'm Alyssa, and today I'm going to be talking about the history of the French horn and how we came to the French horn that we have today. I was in band from middle school all the way to high school, and I went to band camp many times throughout my band experience. I would go to the one in West Texas A&M, which is a music school up in Amarillo. So I would learn from some of the best French horn players, so I would say I'm pretty experienced. I was close to making state a few times, so I have a lot of history on the French horn. So we're mainly just going to be talking about how the very first French horn came to be about, and then how we got to the classic French horn that we know today. So according to a website called study.com and an article they published in November of 2023, the first French horn was discovered from 1500 to 500 BCE, which is a really long time ago, so they can't really pinpoint exactly when it was found, but it was made out of animal horn, which the French horn that we have today, you don't know, it's made out of brass usually, and it has a bell, and then it has valves, and then it also has a mouthpiece, and it has slides in order to change the tuning and the pitch of the French horn. The French horn that was found all the way back from BCE, it was made out of animal horn, not brass, and it didn't have a bell or anything. It was basically just a circle with a tube coming off the end, and it didn't really have a mouthpiece or anything, and you would just blow into it and it would make sound. It didn't have valves or anything like that. So that was the very first French horn. And then according to the Met Museum, it wasn't until about the 17th century that it was starting to be made out of brass instead of animal horn. So by the 17th century, it was made out of brass. It still didn't have the bell, it still didn't have the valves, any of that. It was still just a circle with a tube coming off, and you would just blow into it, and that was it. In the 17th century, though, it was actually just declared as the official hunting horn. So basically what hunters would do is they would play it to get the animals to come out, because I guess the animals, it sounds like another animal to them, and this way it would allow the hunters to be able to easily kill the animals that they were trying to kill. They would also use the hunting horn in battles and in celebrations, but it was mainly used for hunting. It wasn't until about 200 years later when Heinrich Stausel created the French horn that we have today. He did that in 1814, but it wasn't until 1818 that he got patented, so that way he could be the official creator of it, and he could be the one who got the credit for creating it and all that. But it wasn't until 1885, so about 70 years later, according to Britannica, Betsy Squashworm, she wrote an article talking about how Richard Strauss performed it. He did that in March 14th of 1885, and so about 70 years later was when the world finally got to see the French horn debut. They did it it's called a concerto, which what that is, it's basically an ensemble, and then there's one person in the front, which was Richard Strauss, and he was playing the French horn. There were other people behind him playing, but they just were there to add texture to the music and allow for more musical theatrics, and it wasn't just him playing. So he was about 18 years old. He actually composed the music that he wrote for the orchestra, which is very impressive for only being 18 years old. Both of his parents were in the music world, though, so it was very much expected that he would be in the music world as well. According to Hollywood Bowl, he composed a lot of music, and that was just one of the many pieces that he did. The piece that he did for the debut of the French horn, it was movements, and if you don't know what movements are, the best way to explain it is it's kind of like episodes, I guess, is how you would explain it, for music, and basically in between each piece there's like a few second breaks. Sometimes they don't even take breaks, it really just depends. But the French horn is still used today. It's mainly used in orchestra or concert band. You know what marching band is? It's not really used in marching band unless it's a military band, but most of the time if it's just a regular band, they'll use this instrument called a mellophone, which it's basically, if you know what a trumpet is, it's basically just like a trumpet but bigger, and it's meant to sound like a French horn, but it's easier to march with because when you play the French horn, there's a bell that comes off at the end, and then you have to put your hand in the bell, which is kind of hard to do while you're marching. But yes, that's pretty much it. It started from a very simple hunting horn and then came all the way down to the French horn that we have today. It was debuted in Germany, even though it's called a French horn. It was made in Germany. But yes, thank you all for listening.